Okay, so let's move on now and let's actually look at some examples of some text. So when you are looking for your you're going to be looking for some verbs to help you think about what the text structure is. You might find that they examine, they describe, they have sequences, they observe, they argue, they outline, they define, they compare, they contrast, they distinguish, they explore, they explain, or they analyze or study. So let's look at an example here and try to decide what text structure this is. Touching poison ivy can result in an extremely itchy and painful rash. The oil in the plant, called urushiol, causes the itchy rash. Urushiol, that's a hard one to say, is so strong that the size of a pinhead could make 500 people itchy. You may be among the lucky 15% of the population that experiences no allergic reaction to urushiol, but most people agree that they would rather not find out whether the statistic applies to them. If you come in contact with poison ivy, try to wash the area with cold, soapy water as soon as possible. Taking a lukewarm oatmeal bath might relieve some itchiness. So I'm noticing that they've identified a problem, which is that poison ivy causes a rash. But now in the second paragraph, they've started to talk about solutions, things you can do to help. Adding 1 cup of baking soda to a lukewarm bath has also been shown to provide relief. Hot water should not be used as it opens skin pores and the urushiol, hard to say, may spread. The best remedy is simply avoiding any contact with the plant in the first place. Various rhymes can help outdoor adventurers identify the plant. Leaves of 3, let it be, and hairy vine, no friend of mine, will remind you of poison ivy's appearance when you are out exploring in nature. So in the first paragraph, they identified a problem that touching poison ivy can result in an extremely itchy and painful rash. In the next paragraph, they talk about what to do if you come in contact with poison ivy. So that's one solution. And in the third paragraph, they say how you can avoid contact. That's a second solution. So I feel pretty confident that this is an example of problem and solution. So here's an example of a summary explaining that this is an example of a problem solution text. Let's try another one. Mary Ludwig, named Molly, was born in 1754. Growing up, she helped tend her family's farm, herding cows and carrying buckets of milk. Molly married William Hayes in 1769, and when he joined the colonial army in 1775, Molly followed him. Like many soldiers' wives during the Revolutionary War, she cooked, cleaned, and cared for sick and injured soldiers. In June of 1778, the colonists met the British Army at Mammoth, New Jersey. It was a terribly hot day, and while many colonists were being wounded and killed in the Battle of Monmouth, others, like her husband, were fainting in the hot sun. When Molly saw what was happening, she set to work. She filled buckets at a nearby stream and then lugged them onto the battlefield. She delivered water to thirsty soldiers who nicknamed her Molly Pitcher. According to some stories, she even loaded and fired the cannon for her husband, who was too weak to perform his normal task. Because of her selfless actions that day, she will always be known as a hero of the American Revolution. So let's think carefully. This could be description because they're talking about Molly Pitcher and describing why she's famous. But I notice they spend a lot of time talking about events in order. They talk about when she's born, and next they talk about when she marries her husband in 1765. Then they talk about when he joins the colonial army in 1775. And then they talk about the famous event in June of 1778. So they're talking about some of the events of her life in order. This tells me that the text structure is sequence. So it outlines the brave actions of Molly Hayes in sequence.